Maimah that Shmuel sent to everyone. Beis Samach Dalid, Shvi Shel Pesach Tavshin Dalid. This Maimah was written by the previous Rebbe to be learned on the 7th day of Pesach, 1944. Vayelech Hashem es hayom beruach kodim aza, and Hashem made the water beruach kodim. He made a wind come, an eastern wind, aza, a very mighty one, called alayla, the entire night come. Vayiboku hamayim, and the result was that the water split. This is talking about Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the Red Sea. After, in regard to Yetzias Mitzrayim, the leaving of Egypt. V'tzarech lahavin, we must, after we left Egypt, there was the splitting of the sea. V'tzarech lahavin, we must understand, v'haloi tchilas ksiv, initially, earlier it says in the Torah, the Te'as Yod Chalayam, stretch your hand over the water, uvakeu, and split it. Mashma, this verse implies the Bekiyas Hayom, who al yedei nitiyas yodei shel Moshe, that the splitting of the water was through Moshe stretching his hand over the water. V'achakach, but nevertheless, in the verse that we're dealing with in this Maimer, Omer, the verse says, Vayelech Hashem es hayom. Not that Moshe did it, but Hashem made the water split beruach kadim with a eastern wind. Vayidei zen, because of that, vayiboku amayim, the water split. So the previous Rebbe says it seems to be a contradiction between the two verses. By the way, this shir should be a refush lema for Hillel. It says in the Zohar, Parsa Baleischa, page 151, folio 1. Isa beruach kodim. What does it mean on eastern wind? Beruach kodim da ruchoi shel Yaakov. This refers to the spirit, the ruach, the wind of Yaakov. Uve medrash rabba al posik vayiboku amayim, and in the medrash on this verse vayiboku amayim, it says b'schus Yaakov Nifke hayom. In the merit of Yaakov, the water split. Shenemar, as it says, Uforatzto yomo v'kedma, you shall disseminate to the east, to the west, in the east. Upirish b'matnas kahuna, the commentator of Matnas Kahuna over there says, the bekia and uforatzta, the word bekia, splitting, and the word ufaratz, uparza, which the word ufaratz is associated with, hu inyan echad. It is one idea. Both are the same idea. Medrash Rabba vayishlach peidekayim vav. He brings other proofs. Isa, it says like this over there in this medrash. Min ha-Torah or me ha-Neviim or me ha-Ksuvim, whether it be from the Torah, the 5 books of Moshe, or Menavim from the prophets, or Me'aksuvim from the writings, which is Tanakh, Torah, Neviim, Me'aksuvim, Tanakh. It says over there, Shebeschus Yaakov, it's in the merit of Yaakov Avinu, that Nifka HaYarden, the Jordan was split. And he explains, Min HaTorah, how do we know that the Torah supports that? Shenemar, as it says, quote, Kibim Makli, for with my staff, my stick, of Vartius Ayarden, Yaakov says, I passed through the Jordan. Min ha-Neviim, from the Neviim, the prophets, it says, what does it say? B'yabosha ovar Yisrael es Ayarden. In dry land, the Jews passed the Jordan. Yisrael Saba, and who is Yisrael? It refers here to Yisrael Saba HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's called the elder kind Israelite. Umin Aksuvim, and what's the proof from the writings, the Ksuvim? Hayom Ra'ah, we say this in Hallel. There's this the waters, the Soa, Vayonos, Hayarden, and the rivers flowed and ran. Milpnei Elikei Yaakov, because of the God of Jacob. So again, we see clearly that from the Ksuvim, from the writings, there's a verse that says that it was Yaakov's merit that made Hashem split the water. Now he brings a shalom. Shnei luchos abris. He says al posik kibemakli ksiv. Right? It says kibemakli. So he says the word makli mekubal b'yodenu. We have a tradition. The posik zeh yesh shemas gedolim. In this verse, there are great names of Hashem that are hidden and alluded to. And he says, ki, the words ki, b'mem, the first two letters of the word makli, hu shem Maccabi. That's the name called Maccabi. Sha'oile, what is the gematria of Maccabi? Ayin Beis, 72. Hayotze miposik, which is derived from the verse, the letters, the first four letters, the acronym of Mi Kamoicha, who is as you, like you, Ba'elim, in strength, Hashem God. So Mi Kamoicha Ba'elim Hashem, Yoni, is a acronym, an abbreviation for Maccabi. And what is the gematria of Maccabi? What is the numerical equivalent? 72. Then we have the last three letters of the word makli, kuf lamed yud. Kli, kuf lamed yud, not keli with a chaf, but kuf lamed yud. Shem hayotze miposik. This is the name that comes forth from the verse lishuoscha kivisi Hashem. For your salvation, Moshe, kivisi, I hope, Hashem, God. I hope for your salvation, God. So the acronym of the words Lishu Oscha starts with a Lamed, Kivisi with a Kuf, Hashem with a Yud is Kuf Lamed Yud, which are the three last letters of the word Makli. So the Rebbe says, so what do we see? So the Shaloah says that the Pasuk, where it says that Yaakov passed the Yarden with a Makli, is associated with the name of Hashem, which equals 72, and it also alludes to the idea of L'shu'oscha kivisi Hashem. Now comes his question. So he's brought proofs from Medrash and from Shaloah. V'tzarech lahavin shayches zeh l'kriyas Yamsuf. What's the connection between all this and the splitting of the sea? Now remember, this mimer was written and was given to be learned on Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, when we celebrate Kriyas Yamsuf. When was the pasuk of Maccabi, Mi Kamoicha Ba'elim Hashem, said? It was said while we sang the Shira Hayam, the song of the sea. He says, okay, you're right. I know that it was said in association with Kriyas Yamsuf, but what's the connection? If these things were said during this experience, there has to be a meaning. Not just tell me the facts that it is this way. We know it is this way. But is there a spiritual significance and a meaning? That's what he wants to understand. The Pasuk Mikamecha was said while we sang the song on the Yom. That's another question. Number 3. What was the whole idea of Kriyas Yamsuf? Shaharei b'shvil darkom v'hilucham b'midbar lahoya nitzrach lehem leilach bayam. You all know that it's brought, I believe, in Rashi, that for the purpose of the Jewish people's path to get to their destination, while they were in the desert, they didn't have to go through the water, the yam. Shahari be'oisei tzad sheyordu liyam be'oisei tzad olu me'ayam. They the way they went into the ocean, that's the same way they went out. So why have to go through the Yam? You didn't have to go through the Yam. Rak Kriyas Yamsuf Hoysa. The reason why we had Kriyas Yamsuf Hoysa Hachona Lamatan Toira Kinoida. The previous Rebbe says Kinoida as is known. What does it mean as is known? It's brought in the Svarim and it's brought in Chasidus as well. That Kriyas Yamsuf was a spiritual preparation for us to be able to receive the Torah. It was a cleansing. Kriyas Yamsuf was a tahara for us to receive the Matan Torah, the Torah. And the Rebbe talks about this in his Likutei Torah. But still, what is the connection between the two? The Yetzias Mitzrayim hu hakdama lematan Torah. The Yetzias Mitzrayim is a preparation for the giving of the Torah. Shaloi hoya efshari liyos matan Torah. Meaning, it would have not been possible for Hashem to give us the Torah kiyim only if and because of ayidei hakdamas shibut Mitzrayim v'Yetzias Mitzrayim. You know that we went through Egypt and we went through the struggles and the shibud and the golus, and it's explained that the reason for that is so that Matan Torah should be possible. In other words, the hardships and the troubles and pains that we experienced in Mitzrayim prepared us for Matan Torah. V'lochein ha'avos, our ancestors Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Hagam shehoyu nishamis gevoyos, although they were great souls, they didn't merit to receive the Torah. Why? Because during their time, it was impossible for there to be Shibud Mitzrayim. The Rebbe doesn't say why, but Hashem, in His divine plan, had a time period when He wanted Shibud Mitzrayim to be, and it wasn't during the period of the Avos. This too is explained in the Svarim, but we're not going to go into it now. But the idea is, so that's why it's a very, look at this language here. It was impossible to be Shibud Mitzrayim b'yameim. So that's why they weren't Zeicha to Matan Torah, because they were lacking Shibud Mitzrayim. And Shibud Mitzrayim was necessary to have to receive the Torah. But we, Avomau Inyan Hagdoma the Kriyas Yamsuf the Matan Torah. The Rebbe says this explains only the Shibud Mitzrayim, the golus, the pain and agony and all the difficulties we had in Egypt. But why was it necessary to have Kriyas Yamsuf? In other words, this is the question, Shmuel. Why isn't golus and Shibud Mitzrayim adequate enough to have Matan Torah? Why must we also have Kriyas Yamsuf? That's his question. Does everyone follow? Okay. So to understand this, the next paragraph is pretty much a recap, a review of the entire last mimer. So it should be familiar to us, so we'll go a little quicker, not as slow. To understand this, Yesh Lahagdim Tchila is the acronym. We must preface what we learned earlier in the previous mimer. So you see that this mimer and the previous mimer are called a hemshich, a continuum. The golus Mitzrayim beruchnius, what's the idea of the spiritual idea of exile of golus Mitzrayim, who mashad nefesh abamis malbish aseichel hanefesh alikis beinyanov. It's the fact that the animal drive disguises the intellect of the godly soul with its matters. In other words, it takes the nefesh elikis, the godly soul, the godly drive, and it envelops it with its animal-like tendencies. And although the nefesh elikis explains to the nefesh abamis in yoni elikus, godly ideas sheyuchol avim, that the nefesh abamis can understand. So why is it considered a total golus, a total envelopment? B'chol zeh, nevertheless, eini poyel ba nefesh habamis. These explanations that the godly soul puts forth to the animal drive doesn't make a real dent in the animal drive. B'dugmas heder pu'ulas hayediyah behechrich hanhoga de Yerushalayim. This would be similar to the fact that people who are generally Yirei Shemayim, they fear God, and they do what Hashem wants. Nevertheless, al hamisnagim, they conduct themselves in many areas of their life, kifi hanochas ha'olam, they conduct themselves based on the way the world dictates, the worldly attitudes. Liyoisem karim lechol inyonya Torah mitzvahs, and therefore they are apathetic to all aspects of Torah mitzvahs. Now, it doesn't mean here that they don't do the Torah mitzvahs, but they do it in an apathetic way, in a cold way, in a careless way. So it's like a contradiction. They're Yirei Shemayim, they fear heaven, they do it, but they do it in a blasé way, in a very non-passionate way, but rather in a cold way, karim. So the Rebbe says this is an example for the nefesh elikis, explaining to the nefesh habamis why it shouldn't be such a behema, and nevertheless the nefesh habamis continues in its merry way. And even those that are involved in Torah study, and at times these people, not only do they learn Torah, Boaz, but what they think about godly ideas. Let's continue the next page, 180, top of the page. Avol, but einam mispolim beliba malzeh. They're not mitpa'el, they're not impacted, they're not passionate. They can think about Hashem, they can understand and everything, but it doesn't make a dent in them. Says the Rebbe, V'zuhi golus Mitzrayim. This is the inner idea of the Egyptian golus. Shehu meitzar mi debina. Remember, Mitzrayim is comprised of two words. Meitzar mi, a constraint upon mi, mem yud, which equals 50, which is associated with bina. Shehi asoga, which is the idea of comprehension. Hine hi misakeves, it holds itself up. It stops where? The meitzer hagorin, in the narrowness, the straits of the throat. It comes from the head and it goes through the throat, and the throat is narrow compared to the head and the goof and the body, and it gets stuck in the throat. Ve'ena me'ira belev. What happens? It doesn't shine in the heart. It doesn't illuminate the heart. La'oirer esamida, to arouse the emotion, hamasima, the proper emotion, lahasagahi, for that particular thought. In these words, we have, in a nutshell, the Golus Mitzrayim experience. So here it is. It's 2 weeks before Pesach or so. And Pesach, we're redeemed from this exile. What is the exile we're talking about? The exile is a breakdown between the mind and the heart, the mind and the behavior. And it's because it gets stuck in the goren, in the throat. In other words, it gets narrow. What happens is there is thought, there is learning, there's even thinking about God, but when it starts filtering down, you get stuck. Mitzrayim, Meitzar mi. What's the mi? Bina. The place of expansiveness and development of idea becomes Meitzar, stuck, constrained. Meitzar, Mitzrayim. Ki kol midah, the Rabbi continue. Yeah. Third line. Ki kol midah, because every single emotion, it has an individual thought, shemegala oisa, that reveals it. And it arouses it. Liyais, the seichel, megale hamidos. Look at those three words. Seichel, intellect, reveals the emotions. You want your emotion to be revealed and active and thriving, you need a seichel to fuel it. Kedugmas, this is comparable to ha'or, to a light. Shemegale oitzer nechmad, that reveals to you a precious treasure, b'martiv chochshuch, in a dark basement, in a dark dungeon. Right? You all have a machsan. And in the machsan, you put away your storage things. And years later, you remind yourself there's light that shines into your head, and you say, oh, I probably left it in the machsan. And you take it out, and you're so happy because it helps you for whatever you need at that particular time. But the entire time, before there was a light going off in your head and illuminating you to tell you where it is, where does this precious gem find itself? B'martev choshuch, in a very dark basement and dungeon. It stinks there, it's ugly, it's schmutzig, and you don't want to go there. Okay? I think we can all relate to it. So Chasidus ava v'yira, to arouse a love and an awe for Hashem, tolui b'hizbonenus, it depends on a meditation, b'toiv hadova lefonav, upon thinking how this item is so good that's been placed before me. And when we understand how valuable this issue is, Meseder bi'ava, then you're aroused with a love, v'hamshocha, and you're drawn to the item. And when you contemplate this wondrous thing, v'noida, and when you contemplate, now here's the second isbonenus. You recall, guys, the first isbonenus shmul is the ava, the kav, the notion of love and attraction. The second meditation is one thinking about Hashem is awesome and removed. We call that hamufla. When you meditate on the issue, how it's awesome, you're aroused with fear and awe. However, all of the above is in worldly matters. The Rebbe says, when it comes to contemplating godliness, in other words, Yoni, in the way the world works, if you think about something and you meditate and you reflect, it's going to cause an emotion. Either you'll be drawn to it or you'll be fearful from it. You'll stay back. When it comes to thinking about about Hashem, meditating on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Rebbe says his bonus meditation alone, Eina Maspekes Adayin, is not adequate. Why not? There must be, look at the next words, Hayiskashrut. There needs to be the connection. Bahasmodas Havonas Hasoga, with the diligence of understanding the idea, until it becomes an actual regesh. In other words, here, Yoni, when it comes to, and this is an answer, by the way, this is an answer to especially those who are invested in Yiddishkeit, in Torah and mitzvahs, and in learning, and in thinking about Hashem, right? And you ask the basic question, why am I not moved? Why am I not different? davening, and I'm learning, I'm giving tzedakah, and I'm paying for tuition for my children, and I visit people in a nursing home, and I help, and I even take time to learn Chasidus in the morning, in the afternoon, in the kollel, and most people are not doing that. So why am I not really different? The answer is because we're still lacking the hiskashrus, bahasmodas. We're not bound. We're not tied. It hasn't become our life. It's an adjunct to our life, and an important adjunct. And that's a very good beginning. But unless it becomes behiskashrus, bahasmodas, havonas, hasoga, you're bound and tied to it, to the idea, to the point where it actually becomes a feeling, a feeling that's fueled by the godly idea. It doesn't move you. In other words, the Rebbe is saying over here that when it comes to godliness, the job is much harder. That's his point, and it requires a iskashrus. Let's continue. And although the idea of feeling the thought that you just thought about is a requisite for every idea, that leads to a behavior, an emotion, that there is. So the Rebbe, it's a rhetorical question. The Rebbe is asking, why are you telling me that this is necessary for godliness, but not for anything else? It seems to be otherwise. So he says, nevertheless, there are different levels. There's a difference between the intellectual fuel augmenting the midah from the perspective of love, from the perspective of year, or the perspective of both of them together. Since love and fear are two distinct notions, two distinct kavim, two distinct lines, you can't compare at all. You can't compare it to arousing teferes, beauty, charisma, mercy, teferet. Shehu hayizboinus va'amoker listakola bi'ikora demalka. This is a meditation and a deep hamaka, a deep delving into listakola, to gaze bi'ikora demalka, the dearness and preciousness of God. The heavens relate. They tell a story when you meditate on the Shemayim. Kvoit Keil, God's glory. The Hagal Galim, and we spoke about the orbits. Heim Gufim Muyuchadim. They are in the individual bodies. Ulechol Echad Mehem, and to each one of them, Hiluch Meyuchad. There's a specific path. V'imzeh, and although each one has a specific path, hinikulam muchuvanim l'seider echad. They're all organized, even though they have an individuality. They're all organized to one seder, to one group, one order. This cannot be only if, because Rak mitzat koyach elyon habli gvul shemechabram yachad. It's only because the supernal power, which is infinite, that combines them and joins them together. And we spoke about this at great length in the previous Maimarim. So now we're going to jump. I know we're going to jump. We're going to jump to because we have a lot to cover and not enough time. So let's go now to page, please, 184, chapter 7. Here begins a new section of this Maimer. Okay? Ois Zayin, chapter 7. V'hinei be'oifen say that avodas ha'adam, when it comes to man's avodah, A person who is involved in the service of the heart. This means after the person has taken the time to remove ketem, you know what ksamim is? Stains. Gasim, from the word gas, grub, coarse. Stains, meaning ugly, character and issues, and he worked on himself, betikin midoisav hativiyim, by correcting his natural attributes. He was born a certain way, but he knows that it's ugly and not nice, and he works and spends time on changing those things. Ulevaram, and to eliminating them from his character. The Rebbe gives us here a path to avodah, to serving God. The first thing you have to do, the first thing we have to do is remove the ksamim hagasim, the ugly, coarse stains, betikun midoisav ativiyim, correcting our natural biological behavior. Don't give me an excuse, I was born this way. So what? So what? You were born this way. We were born this way. If it's not nice, work on yourself and eliminate it. Ulevaram. Eradicate it. Ki bir, right? Because we're going to do some bir chametz. Ki bir hamidas harois, for the eradication, Boaz, of evil, bad midos, bad behavior, bad emotions, bad character. Who ha'achshara haklolis? It's the overall preparation. Shetucha liyes hascholas avoda, for there to be the beginning of avoda. Now this is very important. I've said this in many shiurim over the years. Chasidus, the Baal Shem Tov's Chasidus, any Chasidus, not just Chabad Chasidus, it's not about sur meira. Stopping to do evil is Torah. And if you want, Musar, okay? But ugly character and things that are ugly and not nice and changing, Pirkei Avos, you don't need Chasidus for that. So the Rebbe says, before you can begin, before Avodah begins, before the concept of work, Avodah, service begins, you have to remove the ugliness. And look at the example he gives. It's a beautiful example. Removing stones from a vineyard. V'kitzutz ho'anofim, and cutting away branches hamushchosim that are no good and destructive for a tree. For a tree that grows, if you have branches, certain branches that are destructive, meaning to say they will ruin the growth of the tree and the other branches and the fruit, you have to first cut them away. Sheheim machshirim es atzmicha hatova. These items, you have a vineyard, right? And this vineyard has stones, rocks, so it's ruining it. If you want to have a pleasant crop and growth, and a good one, you need to first get rid of those rocks. And the same is for the bad branches. And without this preparation, now he goes back, that's the mushal, that's the moral, the example. Now he goes to the moral. And without the removal of the midas rosh, of removing the evil and bad midos, hinitome yitma eskol avidosai. Wow. It makes impure and contaminate your entire avodah. We can learn, we can daven, we can meditate, but if we have ugly character that we didn't yet eliminate and get rid of and control and all of that, it'll spill in forth into our avodah and mess up our avodah. Hainu. Gam in yala biyode ez avodah shebelev shemispol al atoiv tam shalei zasog elikir. For example, even if he's involved in service of the heart, where he's impacted about a godly concept that he thought about. But if he did not remove his ugly midos, yitmeno v'yimeseno, he will contaminate it and he'll make it disgusting, from the word mius. And he quotes the pasuk. You guys are familiar with the pasuk, Ka'omer, as it says, nezem zov ba'af chazir. The Rebbe doesn't want to say the words af chazir, so he writes v'gomer, etc. A golden ring on the nose of a pig. You know that verse, right? Nezem zahav ba'af chazir. But he doesn't say the words af chazir. You have this wonderful golden ring. But where is it placed? On the nose of a pig, which is disgusting. Ella, rather, tchilet tzorech lahosid, before you begin your avodah, you need to remove esroya midosav ativim, the bad character, behavior, and traits that you were born with. Esaksomim hagasim alkoponim. The Rebbe says, at least remove those grub, coarse stains. And afterwards, your avoda, your service, will organize itself. And once that happens, the manner and the arrangement of your avoda, it's not enough for you to just work on one midah, v'tzrichim lios, kol hamidas de'ava v'yira v'rachamim. You need to engage in investigating and elevating and refining, i.e., avoda, all your midos. Ava, your love; yira, your fear; v'rachamim, and your mercy. Ukiyadua, the ava v'yira, as it's known, heim rotzi v'shuv. Ava v'yira are yearning and retreating. The ava, love, brings out rotzui. I desire, I want, I run towards it. Ukiyadua, the shayrish ava, what is the root of ava? He abba, aleph, beis, hey. What is the word ava? Sorry, not abba, ava. What does ava mean? Lashon ratzon. The word ava means will. It's another word, another Hebrew word, which means it's a synonym to the word ratzon. So ava displays what?
Related to the word taiva. Like a taiva or something. That ahava is taiva.
Yeah, but how do you see the word ava in taiva, Shmuel?
It's word Chasidus. It comes from the word taiva. Comes from that Russian. This is ratzon, which is like a taiva.
Okay, ratzon is a taiva, but are you saying that ava is also associated with taiva? That's what you're saying. Okay. Okay, I can hear it. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. V'hu b'shnei efanim. And this is in two ways. Aleph sheretzoynei v'chukosoi. Now here he's going to point out in two ways in which the ratzon expressed itself. One is that his will, his ratzon, v'chukosoi, his desire, like Shmuel said, his taiva, who lidbek be'oirein sof. He wants to cleave to God, really call a boy. I don't want any more of this. I just want Hashem. V'habeis, the second manifestation of his ratzon, shemishtoikik sheyoir gilui elikus benafshay. No, I'm sorry, I have to take that back. The first thing is he wants HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be present in the world and realized. Number two is he wants that his soul should be inspired. Someone who's thirsty for water, he desires very much for the water. He wants water. Someone who's thirsty for God's love wants God's love. Sheyoyer boy should illuminate him. This is all ava. The yira, when it comes to the kav of yira, of awe and fear, he shuv. Here he doesn't drotzu, he doesn't yearn and run towards it, but rather he retreats. He shuv. Shehu abitul v'hakivutz asmusai. Moshe, this is the sensation that the person kind of shrivels up into himself. He goes into himself. Shemizbatel me'orein sof baruch hu, because he's so botel, he's so annulled, he's so humbled by God, and he doesn't seek to go towards the greatness and awesomeness and all that. Kiyim, what is his position of yira? Lekabel. I want to receive all Malchus Shemayim. You hear this, guys? The notion of Kabbalah soil is I'm receiving. I'm not running towards, I'm not expanding and it's being attracted to God. I want to just receive what Hashem gives me. That is the notion of the heart when we're in a mode of yira. B'kiyum Torah mitzvahs, when it comes to matter of Torah mitzvahs, b'sur miral, to prevent ourselves from evil, v'asei tev, and doing good. V'tzorech li yishneim. And the Rebbe says there needs to be both. In other words, it's not enough to say, I want to just be in the notion of Ava. The Rebbe says there needs to be both. V'hainu, the b'yad is spoiled b'tshuke b'nish b'yesh b'oifan aleph. Immediately when he's impacted by the flame of fire, his soul is on fire, b'oifan aleph, in the first above mentioned way, b'rotzui v'hishtoikekus hatzemoyin, by yearning and desiring of thirst, lidobik ulikolu belikus, to attach himself to godliness, the zeu lotzeis miklei aguf. In that approach, he vacates his guf, his body, or berotzi, or the manner of yearning. In the second way, be'ifan abeis, in the second way, behishtoikekus hatzimoyin, that he desires to have this thirst, legilui lekus benafshay, not just in the world, but it should impact me. We'll stop here, and we'll continue tomorrow in Mitzvah Shem. Sei gesund, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.